With another day off from work, I decided to change things up a little bit and ventured out on the east side of Lincoln, starting out on BNSF's Creston Subdivision. I wanted to try and get some action along the Missouri River with the aftermath of the historic flooding that took place back in March. Just after leaving my hotel, I get to the 33rd Street crossing just down the street, in time for an inbound empty coal train heading for the mines in Wyoming. Heading east on US Highway 6, I pull up to the first crossing where trains can blow their horn at, seeing that an eastbound was coming out of Lincoln, along with a westbound stopped at 98th Street. Both trains were held though due to a high railer and track inspector in the way. It was cold outside, so I sat in the van until traffic started to move. Of course, I get a sneak attack by the time the eastbound came close. BNSF 3737 East leads a manifest freight train with two GP38-2s in trail, heading towards the Sioux City subdivision, as they meet BNSF 7298 West, leading another inbound empty coal train. I moved to CP West Waverly as BNSF 6669 East was approaching with another manifest freight train. An approach light was lined for them as they prepare to stop and change crews at the east end of the main line. I continue to head east as I come into Waverly, where BNSF 6669 is stopped to swap crews. I eventually arrived in Ashland, Nebraska, the big junction between the Creston sub, the Sioux City sub, and the passenger main Omaha sub. Ashland is a great spot to sit and watch trains from the three main lines all together, with a majority of the traffic coming from the Creston line. Amtrak usually makes their eastbound run right at sunrise into Omaha through here, but other than that, it's mostly freight and coal traffic. There was a Form B restriction here in effect as I beat BNSF 3737 East. As they slowly rounded the curve towards the Sioux City sub, they went into emergency, causing them to stop.
The train went into emergency when I applied the brakes, or the air. It's the first time it's happened.
That was Milepost?
Milepost 1.
Alright, copy. I got a UDE when the air was applying. Milepost 1, got you in the track over.
After that, air's coming back up, everyone's looking good. We'll let you know if it happens.
After that, no one's going back. Catwell.
This wouldn't delay any traffic on the Creston sub, but they did block the main line connecting from Lincoln to Sioux City. As I watched them deal with the emergency situation, a surprise almost snuck up on me. CN 2035, a standard cab C40-8, leads an empty wind turbine train. CN is the only Class 1 railroad to still have the standard cab -8s in operation. This was a great treat to see on the BNSF in Nebraska. Unfortunately though, I was 0 for 2 on getting a loaded wind turbine train, as that was the one thing I really wanted to see while I was out here. I moved to Plattsmouth, Nebraska, located right on the river. This entire area was completely underwater at the time of the flooding. It's a nice little historic town, but as you drive towards the tracks, we see what's supposed to be a cornfield is now a part of the river. A BNSF work train is tied down in the siding as crews continue to restore track that was damaged. The river was still very high, but not as high as it was before. Take a look at how rough this area was back when the storms hit. It was just nothing but devastation and destruction. Homes destroyed, roads damaged. It was awful. This road that I'm on now, I wouldn't have been able to drive on about a month ago, but the river has subsided a little bit, well enough for traffic to drive on again. The area is still under recovery mode to get things back to normal. Now that we got that over with, let's get back to trains. With a maintenance window until 1700 on the Creston Subdivision, I hopped over to Omaha to explore some new territory. I wanted to check out the Amtrak depot that served Omaha, which wasn't really accessible, but by the time I got there, a BNSF eastbound was passing through. With a grade crossing down the street, I get there with seconds to spare, shooting them from the car. BNSF 9124 East leads this manifest freight train along the BNSF Omaha Subdivision, the passenger main connecting from Ashland, which was where I was just a little bit ago. This train was heading towards Gibson Yard, a smaller yard compared to Lincoln. I noticed some searchlight signals off of the UP, connecting to the BNSF from the crossing. This is CP-B003, the last signal before crossing the river into Council Bluffs. You can get a view of the Amtrak platform from here as well. I moved over to the 10th Street Bridge, going across the BNSF Omaha Subdivision and the UP Omaha Subdivision. UP 4016 West is crossing the river into Nebraska as local train LNV 4320, a Council Bluffs to Omaha turn job. If you noticed, while the westbound was passing, an approach light was lined for an eastbound UP train, which shortly upgraded to a clear signal at CP B003. This would be for UP 8658 East coming momentarily. On the other side of the bridge, you can see the old Tower B. This building was built for an opening of a new Union Station back in January 1931. This is one of 3 remaining original towers left standing in Omaha, and is now being used for the UP Signals Department office. UP 8658 eventually came around the corner, having a long string of locomotives, including GP 60 1135. This is train MNPCB 20, a North Platte to Council Bluffs manifest freight train. They were pretty big, too. The journey for this train, though, comes to an end as they pull into their termination point just across the river. Keeping an eye on the weather, a bad storm was fixing to hit across eastern Nebraska, on top of being ridiculously cold outside. But I braved it, as a local train shoves towards the Amtrak station. This was a BNSF to UP transfer job out of Gibson Yard. The conductor is protecting the shove riding on the rear of an old BN caboose as they get behind the signal at CP Omaha to connect to the UP. power on this local was sister SD60M rebuilds 1434 and 1435, both originally built as Burlington Northern in 1991. The train gets a flashing red or restricting signal at Omaha to enter UP trackage. As the BN transfer crosses the river, an eastbound UP train snuck up on me with quite the consist. This was UP 7856 East leading train MNPPR, a North Platte to Proviso, Illinois manifest freight train, having an AB type consist. UP, then CN, then UP, then CN. That was pretty interesting. I neglected to get a still shot of it on my DSLR, I chased it into Iowa. They were running pretty slow, which gave me a little time to find a good spot to shoot it at. I first come up to Monument Road, just outside of Council Bluffs on the Omaha Subdivision. A clear signal was lined for them on the searchlights at CP B347, but not the shot perspective I was hoping for. So I moved a little bit more north to Loveland, Iowa, a very small community. The Chicago Central and Pacific Railroad, now owned by Canadian National, goes over the UP. The surrounding field areas were drenched with water from the flooding. with more rain on the way to be added to it. This portion of the I-29 corridor was closed not too long ago, as high waters were over the roads. Signs were everywhere warning drivers to stay off flooded roads, or serious consequences would take place. Obeying that rule, it cost me a few good areas to check out. Loveland was the closest I could get to the tracks. It wasn't long until UP 7856 hit the defect detector just to my south as they continue towards Missouri Valley, where they will turn east. This was another pretty lengthy train, but being this one was going about track speed, I left it shown in its entirety. There was one road that was open that led to CP B332, South Missouri Valley. At the crossing, a trestle bridge crosses over the Boyer River, which gives a pretty decent view of the fields in the distance. There was another eastbound about 30 minutes behind the manifest freight train we just saw, and this shot perspective was pretty decent, so I stuck around for UP 5345, leading a loaded coal train running as CBTMQ9. With it starting to get dark and much colder outside, I started heading back west, but in the process, I run into one more eastbound in Honey Creek. There was still a little bit of light left, so I chased them back towards Loveland with easy access to the interstate for me to get back to my hotel. Back to where I started, outside of Council Bluffs, I get back to Desoto Avenue to end the day with UP 8535 East, leading the MKC-CNX-20, an extra manifest freight train from Kansas City, Missouri to Superior, Wisconsin, to be handed off to the CN. That'll do it for today. Be sure to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also make sure that notification bell is turned on to be notified for all up-to-date content being uploaded. Until next time, so long for now from Loveland, Iowa, along the Union Pacific Omaha Subdivision.